Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the regular season finale here in the Garage Shop College Cup Series, coming to you live from the virtual Kentucky Speedway. This 1.5 mile oval proving to be the final of 8 races here in the regular season before the 4 race playoff. Drivers have a lot to race for here tonight because a win will get you in, and only a handful are locked in at this point, so a lot still up for grabs here tonight. I will be one half of the voice in the booth tonight. I'm Alex Gannon. Alongside me, as always, it's Josh Crane. Josh, what should we expect from this 1.5 mile oval here tonight?
Yeah, Kentucky Speedway is not one that is so commonly talked about on the Cup circuit nowadays, year 2023. But for bad reason, because it's its own unique thing. It's pretty exciting, and we're going to see a couple things. As you can see, off turn 4, it's very tricky. Sometimes the cars are tight towards the end of the run, but no matter how they are actually wearing, it is always a little bit tricky, Alex, to get your car off turn 4 on worn tires. And then that little kink there entering turn 1 on the track map, that's not incorrect. It's very abrupt and very funky down into turn 1 here at Kentucky, and there's a little bit of a short shoot there to the apron. So it will remind drivers of tracks like Las Vegas and Kansas, but it will also have maybe some more of the properties of the short chutes that we see at Talladega and Daytona. And for viewers that are wondering how we can stick those super speedways on top of some of those traditional mile-and-a-half raceways, give us about 10 minutes. We'll show you here because it's gonna be on here at Kentucky, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an interestingly shaped track. I mean, you can see from the track map how weird turn 1 is there. And I've heard a couple of drivers mention that 3 and 4 are a little tricky because your brain gets so accustomed to trying to handle the opening couple turns that 3 and 4 are very different from 1 and 2. So it's one of those tracks, almost like a Darlington, but not nearly as extreme, where no corner is quite the same. So we'll have to see if that comes into effect here tonight. Pretty decently warm track as well. 96 degrees, the current track temp. And with it being the middle of the day here at Virtual Kentucky, I'd imagine that will stay constant, or not constant, but consistent throughout the race. And will give the drivers an opportunity to kind of adjust off of the slightly warmer conditions.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And Darlington is an apt description. You can see here coming down into turn 1, that corner just kind of turns away from the drivers ever so slightly. Matthew Burton from East Tennessee State, he's going to bring that car down, and it looks like he drifted up to that wall. Pretty casual now here in qualifying, but that's going to be a bigger challenge in the middle and end of these runs here as these drivers put 10, 20 laps on these tires. You saw right there, and a big wiggle off the corner. That's getting these tires up the temp. Yeah, down, not running the apron this time. You can see the apron does kind of kick out right there, and that is a lap around this Kentucky Speedway. But Alex, it's going to be these drivers focusing for long periods of time to see who can make their way to the checkered flag. And you're correct, I think. Who can make their way in?
Yeah, and there's a couple of very interesting point situations as they stand. We'll have to try and keep an eye on it as this race progresses. We're not going to have the luxury of in race timing and scoring when it comes to the standings, but the drivers to keep an eye on when it comes to the battle for the playoff cut line appear to be the 65 of Tyler Klingensmith, the 166 of Thomas Toomey, and the 42 of Garrett Vighton. Those 3 drivers will be battling for 2 spots based off of the cars that are in the field here today. They are not even in points, so there will obviously be some permutations that need to shake out. But those are the three cars, in my opinion, to keep an eye on tonight because they are the ones most desperate for a quality result this evening. But it looks like most of these cars are coming to the grid here, so we can run down tonight's starting order.
And that is going to be your pole sitter with a fast time of 30.372. That's the Ohio State Buckeye, Matthew Martin. They're sitting in P1 to roll off here. In second position is going to be the Virginia Cavalier, Thomas Toomey. North Carolina at Charlotte is going to take home third position here in qualifying via Clint Halterman. Drew Williams from Clemson University is going to be fourth place, followed by Northeast State Technical's Kent Hunley. Sixth place from Wingate University will be Brandon Schulenberger, and Matthew Nordberg from North Carolina State, the Wolfpack driver, he will be in seventh position to start this one. Drexel University will find themselves with Jason Wallet in 8th position, and 9th position will be Austin DeLong in P9. 10th will be Drexel's Timothy Wilms as well. In 11th position, Dylan Godinez finds himself, and 12th position will be East Tennessee State and Matthew Burton.
And it looks like I think the lights are off on the pace car, so we'll be flying through the back part of this order here. It's Tyler Klingensmith, 13th for RMU, Spencer Brown, 14th for UNC Charlotte, Cody Hunley for ETSU, 15th, 16th is Garrett Vighton for Arizona State. So not a huge field this evening, but still plenty of intrigue to be had here tonight, Josh. Any predictions on what we'll see on this opening lap?
No, I don't think so. I think this is going to be one of the parts where the drivers have to settle out. So we could see a little bit of excitement and maybe some early yellow flags as these drivers get their nerves. Again, the boundaries of this track are not so straightforward. But coming to green here, the Ohio State Buckeyes are going to hit that Geico restart zone, and Matthew Morton will take off. And a big run, actually, Virginia. I don't know if Virginia may be a bit slow right there to try and get underway, but coming to the corner. It looks like trouble a little bit in the back, but there for P3 and 4 or so, Drew Williams, Clemson University is going to get sorted out. 2 wide back in the back as Dylan Godinez tries to hold off Drexel University, and that car on the outside, I believe that is Austin DeLong right there in front. Excuse me, I think that's Wingate University that was previously side by side. Jason Willott, Alex, and Drexel University have done a very good job in the road and oval side this year, and that car I would expect is going to move up this field as we get moving on the race.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had really good race pace this season, so it's probably only a matter of time before he starts his march toward the front. But as battling is continuing throughout the back part of the field there, you see Spencer Brown, Tyler Klingensmith, they were duking it out for 11th. But up front, Thomas Toomey making a charge on the outside to Matthew Morton. Has to settle back into line here as they hit the stripe for lap number 3. But he's already taking an early peek at the lead as now Williams diving to the inside of Holterman. This is a battle for third between Clemson and UNC Charlotte. Williams will take the position away, and now he closes in on Orangeville Racing teammate Thomas Toomey looking for second.
Yeah, and you can see the view behind Matthew Morton. That is a mirror full of cars there as he tries to get away. Virginia, Clemson, North Carolina at Charlotte are all in the picture. They are trying to hunt down that leader right there, and actually a pack of 3 cars in the back right there. They could put something together and make a run forward. Looks like also trying to move forward, Alex, is Drexel University. Had a peek inside, but I think was a little bit loose on entry. Lost a lot of speed right there.
Yeah, Schulenberger looking to the inside of Willott. Almost clipped the wall coming off the corner. He was really pushing coming off the 2. We'll have to file back in behind the 76 here and try again. But he was really ripping it there as the front 4 continue their nose-to-tail chain up at the front. Matthew Morton not able to get any separation from these guys right behind him. A bit of unfamiliar territory for the 13. He's been really good about checking out when he's been in clean air so far this season. So the 3 cars behind him doing a really good job maintaining a close distance to the leader as it currently stands.
Yeah, that is. It's not easy to do, and you can hear right as we exit the corner, the play in the throttle pedal, trying to get into the gas as quickly as he can, and then the Ohio State driver having to be a little bit more patient there in the center of the corner. Look at these cars, Alex, sliding in, basically sliding all the way from the entry to the middle of the corner. That's going to make these cars really fun to drive. And also, ooh, big in the wall right there for Thomas Toomey. Virginia in the wall maybe a little bit more than he would have preferred, and that's not going to help the cause.
No, definitely not. Doesn't look like it got marked up too bad, but, you know, you can't afford to be doing that too regularly, as now you see the 23 of Andrew Williams. He's on the inside here looking to take away second as they go into 1. Looks like he's going to be able to do it. Clemson up to P2 now, staring down the back bumper of Ohio State. Meanwhile, Clint Halterman now has closed into the back of Thomas Toomey. He's looking to punish that mistake from the 166 a lap ago as well. The Virginia driver has already dropped from second to third, looking to hold on to third and fourth, as there was an almost three-wide battle directly behind him. Matthew Nordberg, Dylan Godinez, and Kent Hundley all duking it out right back there. That's for the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, that is, and a great shot of the cars as they take different lines to come into the corner right there. The 076, a little bit of a run on the high side, but big slide off the corner, and I don't know, if this is going to be one of those tracks that we see the high side have such an advantage that we have seen in the past, Alex. That could be dependent upon the grade of these tires and the tire wear that these drivers see. But straight away, I think there's a lot of grip down on the bottom, that yellow line of this Kentucky Speedway.
Yeah, and right now, no one's getting all the way down to the L there. As I say that, Ken Huntley actually does. But they had all been running about a quarter lane or so off the edge of the corner. As now Schulenberger has got back up to the 76 of Jason Willott. He's trying to get around on the outside. That number 7 Wingate car trying to do it the long way around this track as they remain side by side. Meanwhile, back up front, Halterman all over the back bumper of the 166. There is a lot to be fought for up here up front right now. Matthew Morton still has not gotten any sort of separation from the cars behind him. And as this battle for 3rd and 4th continues, it's allowing, even though they're side by side, here comes Nordberg and Ken Hundley into the picture as well. I guess running side by side hasn't slowed them down enough to not make up ground on the leaders.
No, it hasn't, and look at that whole scoring tower is orange. So big loose from the Wolfpack. NC State gathering it up well, but not before I think a position is lost to Dylan Godinez there in the 808, and he's going to have another game of defense to play with the 22. Austin DeLong is going to be eager to get around that flaming Wolfpack car.
Yeah, he's all over the back bumper here. He's trying to get back up into P6. That little bit of a wiggle cost him a position and ends his battle with Ken Hundley now as Godinez is trying to pull back up to the bumper of the 112. Meanwhile, Austin DeLong here trying to go all the way across the bottom of the front stretch here, trying to find some way to get a run on the back of Matthew Nordberg. Meanwhile, back in the back of the field, it looked like the UNC Charlotte car, Spencer Brown, made an early unscheduled pit stop, so that's why he finds himself now a bit off the pace here from the rest of the field. It looks like an early stop for the 188, as now Jason Willott really struggling to maintain any sort of traction on the timing tower here. Here goes Cody Hundley and Garrett Vitton trying to follow him on through. He could lose 2 positions over the course of a lap here.
Yeah, and talking about Garrett Vitton and Arizona State University, there's a car who's trying to move up. Started last, just missed it, the qualifying lap here, but trying to move that Ford Taurus forward nicely. He's got enough time to do so. 130 laps in this one, the standard fare, as we go to a lot of these mile-and-a-half tracks this season. A little bit forward up, you can see that, yeah, East Tennessee State, he is continuing to battle back, and maybe that high side coming in a little bit. But yeah, Alex, we're going to be a broken record tonight because these poor cars are under a blanket. They continue to give no quarter here, and look at these drivers sorting around. Virginia and Thomas Toomey up a little bit higher on that corner exit. Clint Halterman and Niner Esports a little bit lower on that corner exit. Each of these drivers trying to find the grip and the speed off the corner, and they don't always correlate. Sometimes you can get a little bit better run off the corner, or you can use a little bit more of those tires up, Alex.
Yeah, and that's all a chess match that they're playing every lap out here, and as this race continues, each of those decisions are going to start stacking up, and as this run continues, we're going to see who is trying to make the most ground up early versus who's got the most tires left at the back half of a run. It's definitely still too early to tell, but that'll definitely become more evident as this green flag run goes on. Meanwhile here, Matthew Nordberg finally maybe back to the inside of the 808, instead has to slide right up behind him. Nearly made contact with the back bumper of the 808 coming off of 4. Has to let up just a smidgen so he can get another chance here through 1 and 2. Dylan Godinez right now, though, holding on to a very firm 6th place position.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, and a very, very good run, good showing here. Great start for Godinez. He's a staple here of the Cup side, certainly, and very fun to see that driver running up here. Another slide from the Wolfpack as he comes off that corner right there. Matthew Nordberg having his hands full of that wheel. And I tell you what, Alex, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it continues here in the back. The 42 trying to make his march forward, and so he's doing it. He's got he's got time. So I think if you're the Sun Devils or a Sun Devil fan, I think you're probably sitting there and trying to be a little bit patient this race. Going green so far, I think that's a little bit of an indicator to us about the patterns of the race here.
Yeah, and there's still a ton of time left in this race, but as we mentioned at the start of the show here, Garrett Vinton is one of the 3 cars battling for the final 2 playoff spots as far as spots that you can make on points that we think are obtainable from results from tonight's race. The big thing he needs to do is finish about 9 positions or so ahead of the 65 of Tyler Klingensmith. Currently, even though he started 3 positions behind him, he's up to about a 5 or so position advantage over the 65, and he is right there in the mix with a lot of other cars that he might be able to pick off here. So positive signs early for the ASU driver when it comes to trying to secure his spot in the playoff rounds.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. Big moment right there as the Sun Devils maybe take a little bit of action. I was just going to say that it looks like a land of opportunity as other cars make holes for you to march through, but that can happen where you make a good march forward here, and you don't want to give it up trying to push too close. So Garrett, traditionally a smart driver here in any races that he runs, and looking like he's getting the job done 1 car at a time. But it is not done up at the front. These battles continue. Right now, the battle for 2nd and 3rd, very heated right now, and I do observe that Ohio State Buckeye car getting a little bit further away from this group. But Clemson right now has made the passes. He's trying to march forward, and they do have their hands full right now, the Clemson Esports group, with Virginia behind them, and then North Carolina at Charlotte. That's going to be a handful, especially for the next 100 laps or so. I just don't think that nuisance is going to go away for the Clemson team.
And imagine it would, and if you're Thomas Toomey, you wouldn't have it any other ways. Now he lunges to the high side trying to find a run off the corner that might be the answer to getting by the 23. Instead, all that did was open the door for Clint Halterman to try and sneak by on the inside. Not close enough to capitalize that time around, but it wasn't going to stop him from trying. And the running order of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th continue to be the way they have been for the past few laps, as much as they're trying to change that here with Toomey going high and Halterman going low. But as this run continues, they're starting to get into a little bit of an island between about a second behind now from Matthew Morton is now Thomas Toomey with a great run off the corner. He actually might be able to get it done this time around. He's side by side.
Oh, big in the wall right there. Big in the wall, and that's going to slow his progress. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what you want to do when you've got the run to go for second. We've seen the 166 have that issue a couple times today as he cuts off the nose of the 07. Halterman looked low, and the 166 closed it off with authority. Now going to slide up in front of the 23. The 166 really aggressive out there on the track right now. However, that slide is going to cost him long run speed down the front stretch. The 23 will get back on past, and Clint Halterman wasn't able to squeeze through as well, but now Kent Hundley has gotten into the mix from all of this as well. So this 3-car battle for second is about to become a 4-car tango.
Yeah, Kent Hundley, the only one to stay out of the wall on that lap. Holy cow. We did see, I did not anticipate that here. Around the outside again, Kent Hundley's going to do it. Suddenly, there's a little bit of life on that outside line, Alex. I don't know if that's tires wearing out. I don't know if drivers are starting to figure out, is this track. By the way, the track, of course, evolves over time. So a little bit of rubber down. Obviously, we've qualified on this surface. We've practiced on this surface. Maybe now it's starting to come to us in that second groove a little bit. But you're correct. Kent Hundley and Northeast State Technical are squarely in the picture. He's sizing up that Virginia machine. Looks like he's going to try the high side at this point in time.
Yeah, he keeps working that middle to high lane. It's about a lane higher than the 166 is running right now, and Toomey will close off any sort of attempt there on the front stretch. But it's going to keep the 112 directly in his tire tracks as they go in the turns 1 and 2. Once again, the 112 slides up just about a lane higher than the 166, who opts to run the low lane that time through. And now, as they make their way down the backstretch, you got to be wondering how if the 166 burnt out his tires at all, trying to do those aggressive passes there for second and third. Ultimately, it cost him, and it might continue to cost him in the long run here, because I don't know, but there was definitely a couple of aggressive moves that may have put a lot of strain on those tires.
Yeah, you know, he may have spent a little bit more than he wanted right there, and it was a valiant effort. We've seen that from Thomas. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. He's just cooling those tires right now. They'll come back. We got a long race, but another driver who's been sideways a lot is that 076, and Matthew Nordberg is trying to get that car, maybe keep that car pointed in the right direction, but. Finally, Alex, speaking of moving the right direction, that 42 car continues to move forward up inside the top 10 now, and having just passed Wingate University, Arizona State setting their sights on the pair of Dylan Godinez. In fact, he's underneath Dylan Godinez right now. Can the 42 make the pass? The Sun Devils staying low. They'll slide up off the corner. The job is done. I don't see a rebuttal coming from that 808 car, so that's another one up to 8th place for the 42.
Yeah, the charge to the front continues for the Sun Devils, now staring at the back bumper of Austin DeLong, and gets really loose coming off a 4, had to wiggle the wheels a little bit to catch it. But that's definitely not going to be great accelerating off the corner when you're busy making sure the car isn't spinning out on you. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's been on a march so far. He's started 16th, he's up to 8th. He's doing a great job right now, doing about everything he can to put himself in a position to make these playoff rounds. Meanwhile, just behind him here now, it's Brandon Schulenberger looking to the inside of Dylan Godinez, trying that low side while everyone else is starting to move up a little higher up the racetrack. Was able to maintain pace through the middle of the corner, but I feel like this might be where he starts to lose out some speed is going into the next corner when you don't get that great run coming off of 3 and 4 that you do run on the high side.
Yeah, I think that might be the case, and Wingate right there making the job look good there on the inside, so seeing if he can follow in the tire tracks of the Sun Devils at this point in time. Just under 2 seconds is the gap to the leader, and the battle for second place has relaxed just a touch. But Halterman agreeing to run his race for a little bit right now, I think just behind Drew Williams. And these guys are going to have to figure something out if they're going to catch that Ohio State machine. They're fast. But I don't know if they are faster than Ohio State. You know, those times about equal, and it's looking like they're going to have to do something a little bit differently if they're going to close that gap down. So we've seen alternate pit strategies that can be off sequence. We've seen cautions come out at the right or wrong times, depending on who your team is. But yeah, might take some external variables here for that kind of second, third, fourth group to get back up to the leader.
Yeah, now you see Halterman is closed back into the back bumper of the 23 of Andrew Williams, trying to see if they can make something happen here. And it looks like they're actually coming up on lap traffic, I think, as I looked up the backstretch there. So there might be an opportunity for a little bit of a pick and roll action here for Halterman. As you can see the red bumper up there, I believe is Matthew Morton. The car next to him, I believe, is lap traffic. That is either that is Spencer Brown, who just got past there, who's hanging on the high side. So Matthew Morton now back into clear road ahead. But as this battle for second and third continues, they might reach the 188 here before it's all said and done. And if that's the case, then, you know, there could be an opportunity for Halterman to make a pass or Williams to create a lot of separation, depending on who can use lap traffic more effectively.
Yeah, you know, that would be, and you'd be tempted as one of these cars to use any item on the road as a pick or as some type of block, but you got to measure yourself because it's not always clear how predictable other drivers will be, and sometimes everybody's trying to get out of the way at the same spot, and you know, it just turns out to be unexpected. It looks like everybody's going low right now. Tony Brown up on the high side. Clint Halterman going to follow through that hole. Clemson Esports, and there you go. And these drivers will continue now. Thomas Toomey and Hunley, Virginia and Northeast State Technical. That battle has relaxed for a little bit.
Yeah, Toomey finally able to create a bit of separation from the 112. He didn't have much of it for a while, but now finally starting to open up the gap slightly. As we look a little farther back in the field, You see Austin DeLong is within striking distance of Cody Hundley, not necessarily on the back bumper, but only a couple car lengths away, so keeping him within potential distance there if there's any sort of slip up from the 110 as they make their way across the stripe here on lap 36. Already 36 laps gone here from Kentucky Speedway. And you got to imagine that the drivers at this point are starting to think about what their strategies are going to be for these potential green flag pit stops at the rate this is going.
Yeah, you know, that's going to be something that they have to think about, and also running the race backwards. You know, we've seen a lot of times these drivers, it comes down to who has the best tires there at the end of the race, and so a lot of drivers might be looking at that to about a lap 100 or maybe a little bit before and saying that's when they want to pit. They'll have enough fuel, they'll have the tires. If that field window is about 40 laps or so, and then from there you can say, yeah, maybe lap 40 here is a little bit early, but maybe I can stop on lap 60 and then again on lap 100 or 90. That might be kind of pleasant right there.
Yeah, certainly a lot of different options on how you can try and chunk up this race, and whether you want to go the 2 or the 3 stop, depending on, you know, tire fall off and where you are positionally in the standings. Both in this race today and also point standing wise, you know, maybe you be a bit more aggressive if you need to find a couple extra points here or there. But certainly a lot of different ideas that could be implemented here. But the things here at the track have really started to calm down. Everyone's kind of found their own sort of running room and are sticking to it for the moment now that these tires have really had some wear on them as we're approaching 40 laps on this this set of Goodyears. And you see Austin DeLong still hanging around Cody Hundley, but that's not necessarily the closest action on the track right now, but close to it. Everyone really having spread out and find their own little lane here to keep logging laps, keep getting an understanding of this track and how their car is handling. And you start formulating what do you need to do to get to the end of this race in a spot that's going to benefit you the most. As now Halterman maybe looking to the outside of the 23. As I was saying, there was nothing happening on track. Clint Halterman said, let me fix that.
Well, I'll tell you what has been happening on track has been this guy, the Virginia driver, Thomas Toomey, has been slowly moving from that car at the bottom of your screen, the Hundley machine there, North Sea State Technical, to catch up this group here. And so I think that, yeah, both these cars are starting to feel the burn a little bit. Oh, they're moving to the bottom. Not on my bingo card, but there you have it, the 166 looking low. And a big wiggle off the corner. That's going to slow that machine down for a little bit. Yeah, Toomey's biggest thing right now is taking that drive, that aggression that he's got behind the wheel.
42 is on pit road.
And pointing it downstream, but you're right, the 42 on pit road. We talked about it. We will get to see what new tires do here, this green flag run. So very exciting. The Sun Devils, the first to pit road, and I assume, Alex, that this will begin our cycle.
I have to imagine. Looks like the 188 has also brought it down pit road already. So on lap 41, now 42 here, Garrett Vitton brings it down pit road. That opening stint, he did a great job driving up from 16th all the way to 8th. Before he comes down for 4 fresh tires and fuel. Now Dylan Godinez pulls down. Yeah, it's a matter of time before the floodgates open here, Josh. Looks like Tyler Klingensmith is coming down as well. So those close in the standings seem to be trying to mirror each other's pit strategy, so neither one gets a ton of separation from each other.
Oh, both drivers very loose, Virginia and North Carolina at Charlotte, and consequently they will actually give up a little bit of time to the 23, and that's what Drew Williams loves to see out the mirror of that machine. But I'll tell you what, the 166 car is not stopping right here. He is trying to march forward. He would love to get a couple positions before he puts new tires on that car.
Yeah, he takes a bit more of a lower line down the backstretch and really tries taking the yellow line here through 3 and 4. And actually, as you say it, here comes the 166 down pit road. He's going to bring it down pit road. Looks like the leader, Matthew Morton, also down pit road. Kent Hundley, Cody Hundley. Yep, here comes everyone down pit road here. Now is the time to come get fresh tires, it looks like. Andrew Williams will cycle into the lead, but he can't breathe just yet because Clint Halterman is still breathing down the back of his neck here as they dive into 3.
That is exactly what's happening. The Niner Esports car both these drivers have decided they are coming to pit road. Look at these cars. Man, it is hard, Alex, to get these cars. These cars are not the next-gen cars. They take a lot of work on the brakes right there. Both those drivers getting slowed down to pit road speed and back up at the front. I think it's going to be a new leader for the time being, Drexel University, and Jason Wallet. He's going to put that car across the line and jump up to the top of your timing tower. And there you have it. Also, just behind him is one lap down Garrett Vitton. So Garrett Vitton going to be looking very good when these
look at
times
him
cycle
just
around.
fly off the corner. My goodness. The 42 just roaring past the 76. That was almost calamity as Jason Wallet slid up the track a little bit, but Garrett Vitton will unlap himself here and go back to work. Now back on the lead lap here, scored in the 5th position. So the undercut appears to have been successful for the moment, but we'll have to see if it continues to be that way as this race continues. But right now, that was a huge thing. Garrett Vitton actually up to 3rd as he got around both Williams and Halterman. So while Wallet comes down pit road, Matthew Morton will retain the lead, but it will put Garrett Vitton, for the moment, into P2. So the undercut very powerful at the moment.
Yeah, it is. No surprise there. And when I was looking at those laps, is Vitton now. You can see a couple laps, 42, 43, where he had fresh tires. So running down in about the 30 O's for Garrett Vitton and the Sun Devil. So after about 40 laps, Alex, I've just written down that those new tires are about a second and a half or 2 seconds there on time. So pretty nice to have if you're trying to march forward in the way that the Sun Devils have.
Yeah, now with the way this pit cycle has shaken out, all of a sudden the pressure will fall all the way back to Tyler Klainsmith in 12th. The 65 car is one of those 3 cars battling for the final 2 playoff positions. But all he needed to do was kind of maintain pace with the 42 and the 166. Well, those 2 cars are running 2nd and 3rd right now, and he is back in the 12th position. So he's got some ground to make up, or maybe another strategy call to pull out here, because right now he is now staring down the 8 ball in the wrong way.
Yeah, it was, and I'll tell you what else has, or maybe what has not changed in this instance, is these 3 Amigos. They still continue to run up front like this. But I learned something, Alex, is that while those 2 were driving, never mind the undercut where you try and keep fresher tires for 10 or so laps, just 1 lap difference, those 2 drivers coming down pit road. And look who came out on top of these drivers. It was Toomey. So Thomas Toomey came down pit road and had just enough grip, of course, while those other drivers were battling on their in lap and probably their out lap as well. But just enough to get done. So you'd say, yeah, they have equivalent tires, but now Virginia has track position, which is huge.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, if you're the drivers in the field, you've got to start thinking, all right, the next time we come down pit road, what is the earliest I can come down that will get me to the end of this race, I feel like. Because clearly the undercut was the way to go track position-wise with the amount of tire fall off. But it also remains to be seen how much the couple laps difference will affect the end of a run here when we see someone like Garrett Vitton on several lap older tires than the 07 and the 23 here. How that'll be affected is now Thomas Toomey actually right onto the back bumper of the 42. We might find out the answer to that earlier than expected, as Virginia trying to dive it down to the inside through 3 and 4, trying to really dig off the corner. He's not going to be able to complete the pass just yet, but he does have a nose ahead as they dive into turn 1.
Both those drivers were sideways off the corner, man, down here. And looks like Virginia going to take the advantage at this point in time. Tires just a little bit older on that 42. And yeah, I'm sure Toomey with cooler tires as well. Not as much temperature in those, and probably a little bit happier at this point in time. And very high line from Drew Williams. I don't know if that's a... you know what? He had the steering wheel turned right the whole way through the center of the corner. I don't know if that was a planned move there from Clemson.
It may not have been, but it didn't cost him too much here as he still holds on to the 4th position and now has closed into the back bumper of the 42. These 2 cars are only on about 5 lap different tires, but clearly that is a big enough difference for the 23 just to drive on by on the inside here. So maybe the undercut is more short-term game, long-term loss than I may have expected at first here, because even though those tires are only a few laps older, Garrett Vinton really struggling to hold on to these positions against cars with newer tires.
Yeah, that's my least favorite part about the undercut is that, I got newer tires until my opponent actually conducts their pit stop, and then I do not have the newest tires on track. But that was a pass there from Clemson University, and next up for the attempt is going to be the North Carolina at Charlotte driver in that 07 car, Clint Halterman, who, by the way, big wiggle there from the Sun Devil, and that's going to be pretty straightforward for all drivers involved. There goes the 07. Will he have it done by the time he enters the corner? Yeah, I think Garrett Vinton saying, you know what, that's fine. I'm just going to get back on cycle with these drivers, and this is where I'm going to hang out. But I was going to say, Alex, got to talk about Halterman a little bit for that North Carolina at Charlotte team. That driver has really stacked it up, during the second half of last season, season 7, the spring semester here in 2023, and then has just lit it up this summer for that team. And he's going to be a force when we all go back to school in the fall.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You could kind of tell the turning point when he picked up that, I won't necessarily say surprise, but impressive victory at Watkins Glen back over the summer, holding off reigning series champ, or I guess at the time reigning series champ Jared Kaler. That was a really impressive showing, and ever since then he's just been a staple of these top 5-7 cars or so, and has really proven to be a contender week in and week out. And as we see him here running forth on the heels of Andrew Williams, these two cars have not been more than like a car length or two apart all 56 laps of this race. Neither one of them any separation from the other. And they keep they keep throwing some barbs at each other, keep testing who's going to have the better line each corner here. And I got to imagine if I'm either one of those guys, this has got to be a really fun battle, because they have just been duking it out the entire race thus far.
Up at the front, they have been duking it out. I'll tell you another driver that's been playing all game long, Austin DeLong. He was battling the 808 car and Dylan Godinez. Now he's taking the fight on the outside to Wingate University and Brandon Schulenberger in that 7 car. Brandon leaving enough room there on the outside. These drivers side by side as they go down onto the backstretch. The 22 car has a run off, and yeah, looking like that outside line is going to hold pace for now, and the 22 up to 8th position, but Austin DeLong is marching right there. Actually just picked up a win of his own at his local track there in Pennsylvania, racing dirt oval karts, as he has been for a while. Not his first win there either, but no stranger to speed, we like to say here. That 22 car was fast previously and fast right now, Alex. Tell you what, though, back up at the front, the story is all Ohio State. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, is Clint Halterman there from North Carolina at Charlotte. Our fun fact of the night is those two drivers, Clint Halterman and Matthew Morton, are currently tied after the drop week is figured in. They are tied on points, each with 207 points. So obviously both will be making the playoffs, most certainly, but pretty amusing to see those drivers level after we go and complete 7 races, this being the 8th race here this season. It's very nice to see that, and yeah, these drivers are very close together all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they will have some more opportunities in the postseason to duke it out for the Season 8 championship here in the Garage Shop College Cup Series. But we are nearing the halfway point of this race. Thanks to some good speed and some good pit strategy, Matthew Morton firmly in control of this race right now, 7 seconds ahead, as there is a 3-car battle for second. Thomas Toomey on the outside trying to hold off Andrew Williams. He had second place in control for a while there, but now the 23 knocking on the door, seeing if anyone's home here to try and take away P2. And Clint Halterman's right there behind him, waiting to see how this all shakes out, to see whose position he can jump on next.
Yeah, that's hilarious. If you're Clint, you're just hanging out back here waiting for any one of these cars to slip and sneak by as they battle hard. But yeah, these drivers all level on tires right now. And level on speed, I think, as they go through the trial here. North Carolina at Charlotte. Yeah, sizing up these cars. This is a three-way battle that is going to go right to the checkered flag, I think.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it didn't. And these three cars, I mean, especially Williams and Halterman, but really on a broader scale, all three of these cars have been locked together all 62 laps of this race so far. And I don't think that's going to change at any point anytime soon, because their pit strategy has mirrored each other pretty well. Their pace has mirrored each other pretty well, and their ability to attack this track has mirrored each other really well. And because of it, no one's really gotten the advantage over each other, and has put on a really compelling battle for these positions here in the top five. Halterman there all over the back bumper of the 23, maybe out to the outside corner here, thinking about trying to go around the long way, is now the 23 inside of the 166. The 07 will dive down. Williams takes away second place from Toomey. Here comes Halterman on the inside. It's looking like a super speedway race where you're trying to block both lanes at once if you're the leader here. Andrew Williams just trying to keep both of them behind him. Is now Halterman to the inside of Thomas Toomey through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Drew Williams controlling this group right now, though I don't know how long that hold is going to last. Yeah, boy, which line do you go with? You don't want to get split right there in the middle. But Niner Esports there on the inside has been following for long enough, so they decided they'll do so a little bit more, and we see Virginia giving up those 2 spots, but that will not be the last that we see from Virginia right here as we go through the tri-oval, down into turn 1. He's already sizing it up, Alex.
Yeah, just because he may have gotten past that last corner doesn't mean he's going to go quietly into the night. Thomas Toomey is going to hang around and see how this shakes out and try and get back at him. We saw him do it in that opening stint. I would not be shocked to see if he tries it again here. But right now, he's just going to bide his time and wait till the opportunity presents itself. As now Halterman closes all the way up. A little bit of contact with the 23. He gets loose. The 07 gets loose. Here comes Toomey up to the back bumper of Halterman. Can he make a move going into 1 and 2? Doesn't look like it this time around, but a dicey moment there for the drivers in second and third. That almost brought out the first caution of the day.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was if it was contact or not. These bumpers so sneaky under the rear bumpers of these cars, these Gen 4 cars. So we'll have to ask later if there was contact. But you mentioned earlier a little bit of excitement here. This is important for Tyler Klingensmith and Robert Morris University, who is trying to point their way in, Alex, to the in this final round here in the regular season, to the playoffs. And so they are trying to defend here from 808. Dylan Godinez. And that's going to be a hard job. We've seen some speed from Godinez at different points tonight, and it looks like the Cal Machine trying to tuck in line right now, but coming back on the inside.
Yeah, the Cal car has not been super happy this evening, it would appear, as now he's fallen back behind the 808 of Dylan Godinez. Godinez now trying to get back up. He's a little farther back than where he'd like to be right now. The 808 has spent a good bit of the early going of this race up in the top 6, 7 or so. So running back in 11th, not where he wants to be. But now that he's gotten around the 65, he's got a long way to go to reach the next car ahead, which is over almost 10 seconds up to Jason Willott. Meanwhile, his teammate a little farther ahead, Austin DeLong, side by side with Brandon Schulenberger. They've been battling it out for the better part of the past 10 laps here. And now DeLong maybe with the edge, or maybe it's Schulenberger on the inside. We'll have to see as they come to the stripe here. It is certainly, though, going to be neck and neck as it has been for the past few laps. Looks like ever so slightly it's Brandon Schulenberger, but, you know, if this was the last lap of the race, they would need to review the cameras. That was nearly photo finish-esque across the stripe.
It was, and for the second or third time this season, I feel like I'm watching dirt racing, 2 cars side by side. I don't know if I want to be in the bottom or the top. Oh, in the wall, Sparks, and in the wall for the 22. That's not what you need right there, and it is so difficult, Alex, when you get up in the wall to get the car off the wall. It doesn't just bounce off anymore. iRacing have modified the way that the cars and the walls interact among other objects, and so, yeah, it really does suck you in to the wall. It's not just a feeling. It is reality, the way it's been done, and there are some reasons for that, but a bit unfortunate. But I'll tell you, look at the wobble and the wiggle there from the 23 off the corner. And, yeah, these drivers, again, starting to get into about maybe 30 or 25 laps or so on their tires, depending how you count there, Alex. And so yeah, we're gonna start seeing a lot of this action where these drivers are trying it so hard to get any little advantage over one another.
Yeah, that 23 definitely in a bit of duress right now under the pressure of the 07. Not to discount the fact that Thomas Toomey in the 166 right there with him as they run. Looks like, I think there may have been some trouble for the 808 of Dylan Godinez. He's really slow on the front stretch. Already lost a couple of positions here. This little pack here had to evade Toomey, not able to do so. And he's going to lose out big time to Williams and Halterman here, as now he has to work his way on the inside of the 808, now that Godinez has gotten back up the speed. But now there's about a 5-car length gap between him and the 2 cars that he was only about a bumper away from just a lap ago.
Yeah, Virginia will not be happy about that. And here we see this was the pass, Dylan Godinez right here. And so was it a run-in with the wall? I see loose. Oh, yes, look at that.
Really loose.
You just got to get that car gathered up. So very good on the 808. Did not hit anything, and really no drama at all, just on the brakes, gather it up, and this is where we rejoined the action as we dove off into turn 3. Yeah, Virginia having to really slow up right there to kind of make the move, but yeah, you know, that's sometimes that happens, and we talked about it. Kentucky's a very fun track like that, and it does bring out those moments, but it has not cooled down up here. It looks like actually these drivers have also worked past Robert Morris University in a big slide, and that's going to be an opportunity for North Carolina at Charlotte.
Oh, Halterman dives it into turn 3. He's been sitting behind the 23 for laps now. Finally sees his moment to strike and gets really loose running the bottom line of 3 and 4. He had about 3/4 of a car ahead of the 23, but that wiggle will all but negate that fact. He might be able to hold on to the rear bumper of the 23 here going into 1 and 2. Now you see him trying once again. They will be side by side through the middle of the corner. The 23 definitely going to get the better exit coming off the higher line there. Halterman's in it. He's battling for second as they run. He's not in a necessarily advantageous position at this point thanks to that wiggle from a lap ago, but it's not going to stop him from battling to try and take away second from Andrew Williams.
Yeah, Williams very powerful up there on the high side. That's going to be a key these drivers need later in the race to remember. And that seems to be a pretty good battle right there where, yeah, just nothing you can do to be on the bottom side. Yeah, 07's going to look low right here, but I don't know if you need to be down on the bottom like that. It's going to use more tire. And it doesn't seem to be very speedy for drivers who are trying to get around right there. So, yeah, you could tell Clint was trying to cross over right there, Alex, but that car just was not ready to turn. The front tires were there, but the rear tires were not having it.
No, they were not. But, you know, Halterman will slide in here once again behind the 23 and wait for another opportunity to present itself. I give Halterman a lot of credit here. He's been incredibly patient so far through the opening 77 laps of this race, not really forcing anything that wasn't there and trying to jump on opportunities that were. I know personally as a driver, that is such a frustrating feeling when you feel like you might have the speed, but it's just not enough to go and make the pass without really burning out your tires. So when you just kind of have to sit there and wait for your moment to strike, especially against a guy like Andrew Williams, who's been really, really good so far today about not making any major mistakes, you really just have to sit there and stay alert and stay ready for that moment to present itself. As the 65 and the 808 once again doing battle here. This is for 13th. We saw them battle a few laps ago. The 808 won that battle, then got loose, fell back, and now he's trying to do it once again on the outside.
On the outside, which we think is the place to be. We'll be interested to hear from some of our drivers when we go back on. But yeah, the 808 turning that around, and pretty good show there from the 65 car, but it is so hard to get all the speed that we can from these Gen 4 cars, and so good on right there. But an opportunity to catch up with our Sun Devil, Garrett Vitton, in this one. Started at the rear and just trying to get those tires back to where he's on sequence with those other drivers, lest he be at a continuing disadvantage. But I got to say that crew chief on top of that box, Alex, has made the right calls. That car is up there, and that driver gave it all the speed it needed.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been able to hold on so far. He keeps losing a little bit of ground lap after lap, but it's not been enough for it to be particularly detrimental. As we see, Kent Hundley has erased about a 3-second gap over the course of this run to get to the back bumper of the 42 here. But only losing about 4 seconds or so from lap 40 to lap 80 on this pit sequence has been really, really good for the 42, as we see actually the 112 get around him and move into 5th place. So Witten's starting to slowly fall back into the pack, but not nearly all that drastically. So the undercut, I would say, was still pretty successful for the driver of the 42 here. But, you know, with it being lap 82, let's take a quick look through the field. Currently in the lead by about 11 seconds right now. We haven't seen him too much because there hasn't been a whole lot going on around him. It's Matthew Morton for Ohio State. He is firmly in control of this race right now. But the action really picks up right behind him as Andrew Williams from Clemson and Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte. They are running second and third right now and have been battling all race. Just off screen behind them in fourth, it is Thomas Toomey from Virginia. He's been up in the mix a good bit as well today, but now sitting about 5-6 car lengths as he gets really loose coming off the corner there, actually. Currently fifth, it's Kent Hundley from Northeast Technical College, Northeast State Technical. He is currently back up into the top 5 here, having a pretty solid run so far. Garrett Bitton up 10 positions from where he qualified. He's currently running 6th for Arizona State. 7th is Cody Hundley out of ETSU, having a quiet but solid day there in the 7th position. 8th is Austin DeLong, as he just got around Brandon Schulenberger from Wingate there. DeLong holding on to 8th for the moment, but Schulenberger looked to try and get back on the inside, wasn't able to do it, and also looks like the 7 has a bit of a right front fender damage there. And then rounding out the top 10 as it stands right now is NC State's Matthew Nordberg. And then the remaining order here on track, Jason Willott, Matthew Burton, Dylan Godinez, Tyler Klingensmith, and Timothy Wilms. The only car currently off track here is UNC Charlotte's Spencer Brown.
I think that's a pretty apt summary of our race here tonight. A lot of these drivers still trying to work forward, maybe get some tires and some strategy to jump a couple positions as we get to the end of this one. They'll be thinking delicately about how to get into pit lane. But I'll tell you what, get into the playoffs. I misspoke, but pit lane is where we're headed next. Lap 85, maybe trying to get a little bit of new tire action and some fun. It's the 112 car, Kent Hundley, coming to pit road, and we'll see how that turns out. He will lose the lap right here as these two drivers continue to battle, but we'll see for that driver. And actually, Alex, we are finally side by side. Can North Carolina at Charlotte get the job done here?
He's certainly trying. Halterman's on the outside. The 07 trying once again to find his way around Andrew Williams in the 23. Has not been successful much this evening, but has the outside now this time. Not a spot he's been in much this evening, so potentially his chance here as he tries really digging through the outside of 3 and 4. Little loose off the corner, but that's because he's really trying to force it, really trying to take away that position. Cuts down on the front stretch. Clint Halterman moves up the second, finally taking away the position from Andrew Williams. A very, very hard-earned pass there for the driver of the 07.
And that was about 87 laps that he waited to get that done right there, but patience paid off. Now he's got to defend for the balance of the race here. It is getting exciting on pit road. The leader is on pit road. In fact, so is Clemson. Clemson University and Drew Williams down to pit road. You saw him turn off right there. Virginia as well. You can see on your ticker has jumped down, and your leader of the race now is Clint Halterman from North Carolina at Charlotte. But he is going to have his hands full here coming up, because he's going to have maybe a couple laps, then he can maybe get some new tires on that car. But everybody who comes out is going to be about a second a lap faster, we think, right now. So every lap that he hangs out, he's something that he's going to have to make up on track. And I don't want to have to run anybody down from a second or two back, Alex. That's pretty difficult right now.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be an easy feat, but, you know, every lap that he stays out, the more he's going to gamble that the fresh tires late are going to be the move. As you see, Matthew Morton jumping back on track here. He'll recycle out in 5th, but everyone in front of him obviously still needs to pit. As we see a couple more takers for pit lane, looks like Cody Hundley, Tyler Klingensmith, Brandon Schulenberger, all cars that are on pit road as it stands. So everyone's starting to cycle through here. We'll have to see who the big movers were once the pit cycle is complete. But the 76 trying the strategy he tried earlier in the race of being one of the last cars to come down pit road. If there's a caution, it could be timely. The 076, and Godinez is sideways. He was able to save it, but he was coming in with a whole head of steam. The 076, I don't believe, has pit yet. He has cycled to the lead. And Gillen Godinez just had nowhere to go, slammed on the brakes, and nearly kicked it sideways in the process. That would have shoved this whole race on its head. That could have been a wild series of events.
Yeah, that would be. You know what? I'm sorry. It would not be the second time that Ohio State was trapped a lap down. They were not a lap down right now. But yeah, as I say, it's a little bit surprising because it's a bright red car and it's not a surprise right there. He's on older tires, and yeah, the 808 marching through. You can see the car up ahead. You can see that you're closing there at the center of the corner. So maybe just a misunderstanding. Maybe Dylan thought that Nordberg was coming down to pit road or something like that. And if it was one lap later, he'd be correct. But your new leader right now leading those laps is the 7.6 car, Drexel University, Jason Wallot, behind the wheel of that particular Drexel navy blue machine. And you can see right there he's trying to get the job done and maybe lead a couple of these laps, maybe hang out in case a yellow comes out. He'll be quite set to go, but most of these drivers, Alex, have cycled through, and I think he's maybe prolonging the inevitable right now, unless he's got another strategy I don't know about.
Yeah, he's probably just praying for something to happen and a yellow to fly. That's about the only way this strategy is going to come to fruition for the 76. It's a little farther behind here. This is the battle for fifth. We saw Kent Hundley get around Witten right before the pit cycle began. Hundley was the first car to come into pit road to get new tires. And now you see him trying to defend Garrett Witten, who came in a couple laps later, as it looks like Jason Wallot has finally come down pit road here, which will complete the pit cycle. So whenever he comes back on track, we'll see where everyone is running as they currently stand. Right now, though, this is a pretty important position for Garrett Witten to get because as he has cycled into P5, he currently sits 9 positions ahead of Tyler Klingensmith. He came into the day with an 8-point deficit. So right now, I do believe with my rough math, Witten is 1 point to the good, barring anything else happening here on the timing tower. So he's looking good at the moment, but it's definitely precarious.
Well, I say it's a little bit precarious because look at the driver behind him. North Carolina at Charlotte, Clint Halterman. 6th place, his current running spot might be the lowest he's been all night. And so he is going to be coming with a head of steam. All these drivers on equal footing now with these tires as we get to lap 95 here in this one. But yeah, that's going to be hands full and all hands on deck for the Sun Devil group right there. And I'll tell you, he did get maybe leapfrogged. We talk about the ability to pass 1 or 2 cars there via pit cycle. But Kent Hundley was able to make that pass right there. But Garrett Witten now on the outside. Yeah, going to defend on the outside, you can do that. But I think the tires are so new right now, Alex. I think that this is the result right here. New 6th place driver. That is Clint Halterman.
Yeah, Halterman will take away the last position in the top 5 here. The 42 will drop back to 6th. Halterman's attack is not over yet as he's staring down the back bumper of Kent Hundley, really running that yellow line to full effect here on those fresh tires. He was one of the last cars to come down pit road. Hundley was one of the first. So even though they came in at the same pit cycle, those tires are about 5-6 laps fresher for Halterman. He's able to make the pass here on the inside, get himself back up to 4th. Has about a second to go to catch the back bumper of the 166 and Thomas Toomey, but having fresher tires in the 166 by about 2 laps means he should have a slight edge as this race progresses in its final stage here. And right now, if you're Garrett Witten, right now you're kind of in a comfortable spot as far as where you're running, unless you can track down the 112. You've got a 10-second gap to Cody Hundley behind you, so it's just Kent Hundley ahead. So you can only really go forward at this point, which is a big relief, and is going to put the pressure on the 65 of Tyler Klingensmith to try and make up some ground here on Dylan Godinez, but he's 8 seconds back of the 808. So I think technically right now, if my math is correct, they are tied in points. And obviously the admins know what the tiebreaker situation will be. Off the top of my head, I do not know what it is, but I do think that those two cars are tied for the final playoff spot as they run. So high drama here in the closing 35 laps from Kentucky.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have it any other way, as Drexel University with a good opportunity here to be in the same frame together. Those cars not for position right now. That's Timothy Wilms there in the 86, following the 76 of his teammate at Drexel there. That is Jason Wallet. But both these drivers are trying to keep their laps, basically, from that car. Clemson University, who's trying to get through, and he knows that if he takes too much time, Virginia will be on the scene as well. But right now, that is second position, the 23. And Alex, I gotta say, up at the front, there's not much to say, but man, what a class by that 13 car, the Ohio State Buckeyes, continuing to make this look very simple. Yeah, lap 100 right now. I think the 13 machine is looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's in firm control of this race, and I think unless there's a caution, this will probably be his race to lose. I mean, he's just put it together. Another very complete performance so far this evening, and it's shown now with a 10-second gap back to second. He's had such good pace all season, and it's no wonder he's tied for first in the point standings right now. Although, as it stands, he will take sole control of first when this is all said and done, if these results hold. But it looks like Clint Halterman has closed up to the back bumper of Thomas Toomey. So, maybe Halterman not done with that conversation just yet. And look at that, they're closing in on Andrew Williams as well. The three amigos, as you labeled them, have found each other on track once again.
Well, these cars, Alex, gain greater magnetic attraction as we get to the closing stages of the race. We've seen that in sim racing and motorsport, maybe since the first two automobiles could have competed against one another. But, man, yeah, you got it right there. The North Carolina at Charlotte crew is out, and the yellow flag is out. The yellow flag is out, and this will add a unique twist. I was going to say that Drew Williams had the difficult challenge of getting through the lap traffic, but Dylan Godinez, and how's he done it? I wonder if he's been loose off that corner. We've seen all these drivers lose, and a couple times that 808 car.
Yeah, we saw the 808 car get loose a couple of times already today, but he's been able to save it. Oh, just close quarters with the 110, it looks like, but he seems fine. Oh, it kicked in a lot later. I thought he had it saved off of 4, but then loses it through the front stretch there. Not able to save it, goes through the grass, and that will bring out the first caution of the day here, well into this race. As you see, he just got really loose trying to not make contact with the 110. Looked like he had it saved, and then the car just kicked out on the rear end.
Well, and that can happen after you get about 20, 30 laps on the tires. You wouldn't believe it, Alex, if it hasn't happened with you behind the driver's seat. But yeah, it is possible, especially in these high-powered cars, to have that instance where you get back to the gas, it's mid-corner, and then all of a sudden that car wants to turn left, and you're saying, I'm on the tri-oval, I'm going straight. What is the question? But yeah, when you got 800-900 horsepower and you're going through the two rear wheels, that could be the case. But straight off, I think the battle off pit road is going to be Ohio State, followed by Clemson. North Carolina at Charlotte gets that position from Virginia. And look who comes off fifth. It's the Arizona State Sun Devils. All these drivers on tires, and now these tires and fuel will get these cars to the end. This could be a fun 30 or 25 laps or so, Alex.
It's going to be a critical one for those cars, that is for sure, especially on fresh tires. There is a very interesting wrinkle that comes in now with the fact that Godinez spun, but Witten gained a spot on pit road. It does keep the gap between Witten and Klingensmith at about 8 positions. And while we were talking about the caution, I did a quick little look into the Garage Shop College Cup Series rulebook just to see what the protocol was for tiebreaker, if my math is correct and they are tied. And in this current situation, we would need to go all the way to the 5th determinant of tiebreaker to see who has the best overall finish of the season, of which I do believe it is the 65 for coming into this race. He has a top 5, the 42 does not, but the 42 is in position to get said top 5 tonight. And all of a sudden, you know, this could get ridiculous here. I don't know. I can't obviously do too much math while we're casting here, but I tried getting a quick bit of clarification. But if these results hold, if Witten finishes 5th and Klingensmith finishes 13th, I genuinely have no idea what the admins are going to have to do, unless my math is wrong. But again, it could get silly out here.
Well, that's that's one of the best parts, especially here in the summer, Alex. I think back to one of the final tiebreaker after I think it was 3 determinants of tiebreakers was in fact a bespoke event between the 2 individuals on a set track at a set time. That was in golf, you'd call it a playoff, not to be confused with the playoff system here, but in any event, yes, that was a little piece of CIL history, and I don't know, maybe we should bring it back.
Well, they might need to if these results hold. I'm not entirely sure what else you could do at that point, because I do believe that the current tiebreaker, if it's based off of best finishing position, Klingensmith got a 5th place finish at Daytona about a month and a half ago. And if these results hold, Witten will also have a best finish of 5th, and then who knows. But with the lights out on the pace car, we'll redirect our attention back up front here. A rare opportunity for these cars, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, to try and attack the 13 of Matthew Morton. It'll be Morton and Williams in row 1, Halterman and Toomey in row 2, row 3, Witten and Hundley, row 4, Cody Hundley and Brendan Schulenberger, and row 5, it is DeLong and Nordberg. And you saw that tire life graphic flash on screen for a moment there. Everyone on similar tires now that they've come down pit road, so fresh tires, about a 25-ish lap sprint to the finish. This is about to get crazy.
Subscribe. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see these drivers and what they can do. It's going to be Drew Williams in Clemson University. He's going to have to get the best jump he can. He's going to want to, so he can take a shot at Ohio State University. But the worst case scenario, he's got to come down in front of that 07 car, because we know Clint Halterman is going to be hungry to march forward right there. So here we go. The drivers and the 13 is your control car. He's going to go to that Geico restart zone. The drivers are just so patiently trying to get there, and that is one of the longest waits in motorsports. Here we go. It looks like a great jump from the 13. No wheel spin there, but it's all on in the field. The Virginia car is going to look to the high side, and can Clint Halterman do anything to get down to the low side? Nothing doing right there. He is under Virginia for the time being, and it looks like the low side is the place to be right now. The Sun Devils making a play on the field.
Sun Devils up to 4th. Garrett Witten gets around Thomas Toomey, but Toomey diving back to the inside here in 3 and 4. He's not going to relinquish that position so easily. And as they make their way down the front stretch, it's going to be anybody's bet who's going to have that 4th place position. As we see, it's about to be 3 wide as well, if Ken Hundley has anything to say about it. Oh, the 42's in the wall!
The 42 is in.
And Cody Hundley were in the wall. He has dropped back a bunch of positions. He's now scored 10th, trying to get back up to speed. Luckily, it doesn't look like the car is too damaged, but that is absolutely, it's a killer to his chances here, unless he can get his way back up there. Gets around Matthew Nordberg, now trying to chase down Austin DeLong. He's back up to 9th, but he has some work to do if he wants to keep his playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, he does. Everybody trying to battle for position. Matt Nordberg a little bit loose himself in that Wolfpack machine on the outside. But can we see what happened there to Garrett Vitten. He was trying to come in the corner. Here he was. Hundley looked low on the inside. Oh, he just did it to himself up in the wall right there. And that was all it took up in the wall for that driver. So it's all going on here. We got the mid-pack and Austin DeLong here leading this group. Austin DeLong going to be under fire shortly from Arizona State University. Back up at the front. Here we have it. Matthew Morton has not checked out yet. And Drew Williams is going to do his best right now to put his tires on the line. I don't know if I need to try to be there on the low side right now, but there you go. The 23 car, he's going to take a run at the lead.
Yeah, Andrew Williams hanging tight to the back of Matthew Morton here. He reeled him in after the 13 got an impressively good restart. But now with only about 20 laps to go. Andrew Williams knocking on the door here, trying to find a way into the lead. Matthew Morton has dominated this race from pillar to post thus far. However, Andrew Williams not going away just yet, trying to find anything off the corner here. But right now, that 13 just looks like an impenetrable wall.
Yeah, he does. And the other thing right here is he was on offense for a little bit, but Clemson University is now going to have a mirror full of Clint Halterman, who would, of course, like to say that, yeah, if you just let me pass, we can both pass that Buckeye race car. But that's a case that we'll never know if we stay like this. And those two drivers are here. Clemson University continuing to try and march down. And yeah, I think we're a couple laps into the run, and Ohio State looking quite strong at this juncture.
Yeah, they're in good shape for now. About a 0.3 advantage over Andrew Williams as we jump back a little farther into the field here and right on board with Garrett Vitten, who's currently scored 9th. He was able to get one of those positions back that he lost, but that's been the only one. But he's staring down the opportunity to get 2 more of them back here as Cody Hundley and Austin DeLong sitting right in front of him. The ASU car needs to get a move on here in a hurry. Excuse me. Needs to find a way to get a few more positions before the end of this race. Because with the 65 currently running in 13th, being scored 9th, I don't believe is going to be enough to cut it.
No, I don't think so, and I don't know if we'll be able to get those answers on the broadcast, but they will be coming out this week most certainly after any incidents are reported and appeals are filed. Though this race so polite, I don't know if we could have any incidents possible to report, but drivers sometimes tend to find the ones that we miss. But back up at the front, Alex, it is Drew Williams continuing his march, but that gap up over half a second right now. We're about half a second, and I'm not sure what is left in the tank for Clemson or North Carolina at Charlotte or Virginia. I can observe that all these cars are sideways off the corner, and that whole ticker continues to be orange there for the top 10.
Yeah, they're all staying pretty close to each other off this restart here, but every lap it's about another car length or so the 13 puts on the 2 cars behind them. Meanwhile, Halterman still just hanging around behind the 23, waiting for another opportunity to strike as they run a good bit of this evening here with Williams 2nd, Halterman 3rd, and Toomey hanging around in the 4th position just behind them. As they currently run, as it looked like the 07 got really loose off the corner. Don't know if he clipped the wall, but I think he was all right, other than how sideways that car got on corner exit. As they currently run, it's a solid points day for the both of them, but I'm sure they're a little frustrated that they didn't have anything more to challenge the leader with.
Yeah, I think that probably is standard, and boy, you need everything in the kitchen sink to challenge this leader. But I'll tell you the challenge on right now. It's 3 wide, and Wingate is loose on the inside. Schulenberger trying to keep that car down to the line as much as he can. Dylan Godinez is going to take that position down into turn 1, and Cody Hundley from ETSU, the Buccaneer, is going to see if he can do the same, but he's going to have a lot more work to do. Cut out of there on the outside. I don't know if he can get that job done. And look who wants to get through again. Garrett Vitten is going to try and get through as much as he can right there. But, boy, there is a lot going on out the windshield of that yellow and maroon race car.
Yeah, Vinton really drove it in deep there on the 7, trying to pull a bit of a lead there coming off of turn 4. Looks like he'll be able to complete the pass here. Brandon Schulenberger with a rough lap or two there, dropping from 6th all the way back to 9th as he loses out to DeLong, Hundley, and Garrett Vinton. And now Matthew Nordberg also has his sights set on him. So the 42, I mean, he might be able to still get this done here. He's got 2 more positions still within striking distance if he can get past Cody Hundley and and Austin DeLong. Is now the 42 on the inside of the 110. Arizona State diving to the inside. Really powerful move to get the pass done on the low side. ETSU, though, closing right back up to the bumper, looking to get up to the wall ahead of him. Wasn't able to do it. A bit of a block there from the 42. And the 110 will have to settle back in just for the moment, but will run a lane higher as they go through that corner. Meanwhile, back up front, Halterman and Andrew Williams still fighting it out for second. But there is just an absolute cluster of cars just a little bit behind them, as all 4 of them under a blanket there between DeLong back to Brandon Schulenberger.
Yeah, that's totally correct, and it wouldn't be a race conclusion if we didn't have these two together again. Same story. North Carolina at Charlotte is trying to work their way around that Clemson machine, very wide as it may be. Getting a run off the corner, seeing if he can cross over, but I don't know if I want to be on the inside right there. I think Drew Williams knows that. I think Williams being pretty sneaky right now with where he positions that car on corner, exit, and entry, and that's good. You're going to need that planning ahead in these Gen 4 cars because they're not the next gen car and they're not a Formula 1 car, and you can't just turn off the corner or dart around maybe as you'd like to, Alex. You're really going to have to figure out your plan and commit to it for any set of corners.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, though, pretty wheel held there by Andrew Williams. Now, Baltimore thought about the outside, will slide back in, maybe looking to the inside there. No, you can see he keeps popping his nose out at different points, just trying to get a little bit of clean air on there, try and help the aero of that car just a little bit. These cars not nearly as aero dependent as their current next gen lineage. But, you know, aero is definitely going to play a bit of a factor here, and every little bit of clean air you can get on the nose of that race car is going to help out with your speed in the long run. So he is all over the back bumper of the 23 here, going all the way down to the apron, trying to get some sort of run here on Andrew Williams. Has to back out a little bit, though, going into turn 1, because that was going to be a recipe for disaster with no angle for turning.
Yeah, I think that's true, and off the corner right there, Niner Esports going to have to fall in line. I think you can see he really likes to look high right here. He likes to come off turn 4, and I think he thinks he's going to sneak under Drew Williams maybe on the last lap or come into the white flag. But, I mean, we'll see. Drew is a clever driver as well, just had a recent win as well, and we know that he's probably got a secondary bag of tricks for that final lap or two. So all these drivers are getting thinking about it, and it is mixing up right here down to the inside. North Carolina at Charlotte, but Tuck's back in line.
There was a great battle while this was going on. There was another great one just behind it. Austin DeLong and Garrett Vinton were side by side for the better part of a lap back there for 6th. This battle's starting to get a little bit separated. Vinton still trying to hold off Austin DeLong there on the outside. Has not been able to fully clear, now able to do so, but the 22 all over the back bumper still of the 42, trying to find his way back up there. It was a really good battle that was happening just off screen as we were watching that battle between Clint Halterman and Andrew Williams. Now it looks to have cooled off just for a second here as Austin DeLong has settled back in with only about 7-8 laps to go, trying to find what is it going to take to get back into the 6th position here, because you're running out of time, and when you start running out of time, you start running out of options.
And back up at the front. The battle continues. I think right now Clint Halterman just trying to cool those tires a little bit, and I'll tell you who's waited until the right time. I'd be remiss if we didn't say here comes Virginia. Just never stopping, to me, this Virginia driver just seems to be in the right spots at the right time. We see him aggressive, we see him fall off, but get to the end of these races and he spawns right in. So here we go. The 3 amigos will continue their battle. That gap is a little bit more. It's about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. So Austin DeLong continues to chase Garrett Vinton, who I think right now he's just trying to hold on to that spot. He's about a second off of the top 5 there, and Kent Hundley. But it's all on right now. Coming to Alex, 5 to go, and Clint Halterman is going to come up off this corner, and he has got to get around on this 23 car.
Yeah, you're running out of times here to wait for your moment. You might need to force your moment to happen finally, because there's not too many laps left to do it, and if you wait any longer, you might no longer have the opportunity now with Thomas Toomey all over your back bumper. So these 3 cars have not been able to find any separation at any point this evening, even through the pit cycles, even through the caution. They still remain nose to tail to nose to tail. And as they all get a little bit of a wiggle off the corner, here comes the 166 down to the inside. He's side by side with Halterman here as they go toward turn 1. But with the wear on these tires, the outside's probably going to be the place you want to be. As you see the 07 start to pull away just a hair from the 166 on corner exit. Toomey will have to slide back in behind. That battle has allowed Andrew Williams to add about a car length to his advantage over the 2 cars behind him. But that advantage is probably not going to last for long. As now Toomey looking to the outside off of 4, might have a run here. That he now has the preferred lane as they go toward 1 and 2. Only 3 laps to go.
Yeah, and Toomey is pretty well defended right here by that North Carolina at Charlotte crew. He knows it's going to have to be physical up off the corner, see if he can do it. They are neck and neck as they go down into this corner. A quick edge and a late turn in right there by the 166. I'm sure it was on purpose, and that's going to slow Halterman down just enough. A little bit of road racecraft, if you will, from the multidisciplinary driver there of the 166, but that is Virginia to P3. But is it too late? Because these drivers have just taken the green flag and are now racing all the way to the white flag at this point in time. Clint Halterman trying to come back right here. Let's see if he can mount an attack. He's got 1 more lap and a half to do it.
Yeah, the 07's going to have about 2.5 more corners to make something happen. A lot of it's going to have to be set up off of this corner here, but now, a big wiggle from the 07. That may have killed any chances they had left. The white flag's in the air. Matthew Morton still holding on to a 2-second advantage here over Andrew Williams, Thomas Toomey, and Clint Halterman. Halterman only about 0.2 off the back of Thomas Toomey, but it may not be enough as that gap opened up to 4. He got super loose off of 2. So as they make their way through 3 and 4 for the final time tonight, tip your hat to the Ohio State driver of Matthew Morton. He gets it done, his 4th victory of the season, and he will close out the regular season with the win here at Kentucky. Andrew Williams 2nd, Clinton Halterman, or Thomas Toomey 3rd, Brandon Schulenberger going through the grass to wrap it up. Halterman and Hundley round out your top 5. Vitton, DeLong, Cody Hundley, Schulenberger, and Nordberg. Jason Willott, Matthew Burton, Tyler Klingensmith, and Timothy Wilms all coming across the line here as we see a little bit of carnage there in 1 and 2, but the Ohio State Buckeyes driver Matthew Morton gets it done once again here at this 1.5-mile track in the heartland of the U.S.
Yeah, and what a race it was. I did not know who was going to come out of that battle. Clemson, Virginia, North Carolina at Charlotte, all on even foot, and you see he's the man of the hour, though, is earned the right up in front, 2 seconds down the road. Matthew Morton going to turn those General Tires to dust.
Yeah, they're going to burn it down, and rightfully so. It was a big victory and a great job by him to manage the pace of this race here tonight. And that showed with how effectively he was able to not only get the lead, but then hold on to it.
Yeah, he set the pole time, and that was very good. And from there, he was off to the races, and that was about all that could be done in that instance, I think. Really, not much right there. Not much that anybody could do from so far behind, but very good race and very good strategy. The pit stops were called at the right time for that driver.
Absolutely, and we'll have an opportunity to bring people into the booth now, our podium finishers. We will start with our 3rd place finisher, the driver from University of Virginia. It's Thomas Toomey. Thomas, congrats on the podium finish there. Walk us through those last couple laps and what you needed to do to pass Clint Halterman to get the final step of the podium here tonight.
Yeah, so the Drew Williams and him were battling pretty hard. So I was kind of just holding my pace there at the end and hoping that I had enough rear tire left at the end to at least pass one of them, depending on what happened. The high line out of 4 definitely came in as the tire started to wear. So got a few good runs and closed the gap, and then finally had the speed to make the move at the end.
Yeah, there was a lot of moves there at the end. Congrats on the third place finish. And was it a bit of a late turn in there as you got the move done on the Niner Esports car, the 07? Was that looked like a crossover from a little bit of road racing? The late turn in, it looked like maybe the driver would have liked to turn in, but your quarter panel was there. So was that your thought process for trying to get that third position done?
Was this coming off of 4 or sorry, into 3?
That was into 3. I think you had a little bit of a late, or maybe you just had a little bit of a tight condition. We'll never know.
Yeah, I finally got tight into the corner. Yeah, so try to give as much space as I could, a little bit of light contact. In the car, it felt a lot worse. And I'm looking at the replay now. It was pretty light. Thankfully, we were able to finish in one piece. But I think overall, we were all racing pretty hard and enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, I think Alex and I enjoyed calling it up here in the booth. It would not be a CIL interview if we didn't ask you if there's anybody you wanted to thank before you turn you loose tonight.
Give a big thank to the stewards and big thank to the league. Can't wait for playoffs. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that also reminds me. I do believe with your finish tonight, you did, in fact, point your way into the playoffs. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it was a very good job there. Thomas, congratulations. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, Alex, that's going to be a very happy Virginia driver. The Cavaliers they pointed their way in, third place, made that move there at the end. I do not have the polygraph with me to determine if that is what if it was indeed an understeer condition into 3. But I even so, I think it just looked like a good bit of racecraft. I think he said it. Drivers trying to battle hard there at the end. That was a blast to watch.
Absolutely. Speaking of blast to watch, we'll bring in our second place finisher tonight, Clemson University's Andrew Williams. Drew, congrats on the P2 there. I gotta ask you, what was it like battling Halterman and Toomey for all 133 laps tonight?
Man, I am so glad I had them there running with me because otherwise this would have been a really long race. Morton was untouchable all night. I got up to his bumper once and got loose and just did. It was always a battle for P2, so I'm just glad I had people to run with. I just spoke to Halterman. He had a great time all night. Yeah, car was tough, and I just was able to keep parking it in front of him, and he never found a way around.
Yeah, Drew, talk us through how this mile-and-a-half track compares to some of the others, or maybe even some of the 2-milers that we've seen on the schedule. It looked like it started off kind of a low side, and then that second or third groove really came in.
I never really felt the top come in. That's because I was parking it on the bottom the whole time to block Halterman, so I never really got to run it. The deg here was just insane. So it was a lot of just protecting the bottom and protecting your tires because as we saw, like a few of the people that um got on different tire cycles, if you were on slightly older tires, it ruined your night.
We'll add that to my notebook for next time. Is there anybody, Drew, that you want to give a shout out to before we turn you loose tonight?
Of course. Shout out to Orangeville Racing for giving me everything I need to come race every night. And shout out to CIL for putting this great show on week after week.
I think you guys are putting the show on there on track for about 133 laps. Y'all had your hands full, but congratulations yourself, Clemson, Orange Wheel Racing. A great effort bringing it home tonight. Congrats, Drew.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alex, a pretty happy Drew and Clemson right there. And you'd expect it, but man, probably just happy just to towel off and maybe breathe a little bit after that one.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. That looked exhausting, but it definitely probably was a little less exhausting for our winner tonight, Ohio State University's Matthew Morton. Uh, Congrats on the win. You got to tell me, what was it like being out there for such a long green flag stint of time? Because for a while there, it looked like you were on your own island.
Yeah, I mean, clean air definitely helped here. Having a consistent feel with the car just helps a lot everywhere. But the main goal was just to run laps and stay consistent, hit the marks, and just get the job done at the end. So I think it played out really good for me.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could argue that, Matt. Congratulations. Good win, and there's a lot of chaos on behind you. But how did the track change over time? There's a lot of drivers putting rubber down sideways, especially off turn 4. Did the grooves come and go as the race went on?
I'm not too sure about that. I definitely noticed the second lane was getting a little faster as the race went on. I was able to enter a little bit higher. Um, but I try to stay on the bottom and conserve my tires as much as I could, just so I could have the long run pace.
Well, I think you had the pace for the whole race, in fact, some would say. So before we let you enjoy the rest of your evening, is there anybody that you want to thank, give a shout out to, makes this possible for you?
Yeah, I would like to thank you guys for putting this series on. Thank the sponsor, the Garage Shop, for sponsoring this series, and I'm excited to continue racing and start the playoffs.
That is a very good point. I think we are excited to see the playoffs as well. So congrats. Don't celebrate too hard. But Matt and Ohio State, congrats on an awesome run tonight.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any more to say right there. But an awesome performance, one could say flawless performance from the Ohio State Buckeyes, Alex.
Absolutely. Not much more you could ask for there. He was on pole, led every lap, didn't look back. Can't ask for much more than that. He drove an absolutely phenomenal race. So congrats to him. Congrats to Ohio State, the regular season champion, even Matthew Morton. But with that, I do believe we have the opportunity now to go through our final rundown. Josh, if you'd like to do the honors.
And there on your screen, you have the final race results from the Kentucky Speedway this evening. No surprise to anybody who watched for a couple laps. Ohio State University takes this one home. Matthew Morton makes his way to victory lane and parks it for I don't know how many times we lost count this season, Alex. Second place going to be Drew Williams and Clemson University, which won a hard battle between Virginia's Thomas Toomey and North Carolina at Charlotte's Clint Halterman. Kent Hundley from Northeast State Technical, he brought that car home and finished in the top 5. Garrett Vitton, Arizona State University, P6 after an up-and-down race with a little bit of pit strategy for that driver. Austin DeLong, coming back in 7th and 8th place, is going to go to East Tennessee State, the Buccaneer, Cody Hundley. Brandon Schulenberger with a little bit of a squished white front. Going to bring that Wingate University car home in 9th place and a very good showing, all things considered, for Schulenberger. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be the Wolfpack, North Carolina State, and Matt Nordberg behind the wheel of that machine. And Drexel University and Jason Wallet will be in 11th. 12th going to be Matthew Burton from East Tennessee State as well. Robert Morris and Tyler Klingensmith going to be in 13th position. And Drexel University, again, this time with Timothy Wilms behind the wheel, going to be in 14th position. Dylan Godinez had a couple of saves this race, but comes back in 15th, and the field completed by Spencer Brown there from the North Carolina at Charlotte as well. And, I don't know that we can ask for much more. We had action. We had some calm parts. We got to talk about the talent of some of these drivers, and in the end, a very exciting conclusion, Alex.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a fun race, a good bit of battling in the top 5 there, and with that, the Garage Shop College Cup Series' regular season comes to a close, and while we were doing our post-race interviews, Josh, we now know the list of the 10 drivers who will be battling for the Garage Shop College Cup Series championship here for Season 8, this summer season, if you will. Unsurprisingly, the first driver who qualified, Ohio State's Matthew Morton, 4 wins in the opening 8 races. I mean, he was clearly the man to beat so far in the regular season, and probably the odds-on pick to win the championship if he keeps running the way he does. Also making the playoffs here, Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte, Andrew Williams from Clemson University, Zach DeWale from St. Clair College, Kent Hundley from Northeast State Technical, Cody Hundley from East Tennessee State University, Timothy Wilms and Jason Wallet, both from Drexel University. Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia pointed his way in on the final day of action here today. And by only 1 point, Tyler Klingensmith of Robert Morris University advances over Garrett Fitton of Arizona State. It came down to every point you can get your hands on here, but those will be the 10 drivers who will be battling for the championship here starting next week at Legacy Phoenix.
Yeah, and that's going to be a race. We saw these drivers having to manage the throttle tonight out of turn of 4 and so on, but Phoenix is going to be a abrupt start to the final chapter of our season here this summer. It's going to be a blast for those watching. We'll see about those on track. That Phoenix racetrack, especially the old one, takes a lot of patience both to get in the corner, to get through the center of the corner, and then exit that corner. Make sure your car is pointed straight. And the start-finish line being in its old configuration back there, opposite the dog leg, if you will. So that's all to play for, and I am very excited for it next Monday there, Alex.
As am I. It'll be the first race of the playoffs. It'll be a fun one going back to Legacy Phoenix. But with that, that is going to conclude our coverage here of this race of the Garage Shop College Cup Series from Birchville, Kentucky. We will catch you next Monday at Legacy Phoenix for the first round of the Garage Shop College Cup Series playoffs. If 1 week is too long to wait before you have more CIL action in your life, this Wednesday, the GR86 series will be back in effect from VIR, so be sure to tune into that at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, and definitely tune in to the race at Legacy Phoenix next Monday, 9 p.m., first round of the playoffs. But for everyone at the CIL and for Josh Crane, I've been Alex Gagnon, and we'll catch you next time.